Super Microcomputer had a strong week last week, increasing by around about 4%. It's up 13% in the last 4 weeks, and it's up 36% in the last 3 months. So SMCI is looking bullish. It is looking as if it wants to move higher, and there is a possible trade entry approaching soon. So in this video, I'm going to look at a price analysis for SMCI over the last few weeks and talk about some ideas of how you might enter this tech stock. Let's take a look. Now, if you find value in my analysis of SMCI stock today or other stocks on my channel, you might also find value in my email newsletter. If you subscribe, I'll send you professional trading tips to help you make more profits trading stocks. Link in the description below. Check it out. So last week, SMCI increased around about 4.1%. And you can see there was a green bar last week with price trading up from a low of around about $40. It did reach a high at one point of around $49, but there was some small selling pressure and price ended up closing at $47.58, just below this key level of $47.77. So for me, it didn't do enough last week to confirm an entry this week. It got close, there was buying interest, but that bar wasn't bullish enough for me to have confirmation for an entry this week. It's very close and it might break through this key level this week. So we'll see what happens. We can see, looking at the weekly chart for SMCI, the stock is looking bullish. It is moving up. And you can see I've added a trend line considering this price trough here of $17 from November 2024. And also I've included this price action here from April this year. So you can see that price is trying to move up. It's making higher highs and higher lows as SMCI trends up. Now we can see since this week here, which was a very bullish week for Supermicro, in that second week of May, price has been tracking sideways in the last 6 weeks. So you can see here that price is sort of tracking between $46 and $39. So you can see the close here and the close here around the same level. This close slightly higher, next week about the same level. 2 weeks ago it did close a bit higher, moving up to this key level. And last week, it did open lower, but then close higher. So it does look as if Supermicro is trying its best to move higher and break through this key level here. Now, zooming out on the weekly chart for Supermicro, we can see this stock is long-term bullish. We've got a beautiful trend from 2020 with price moving up gradually all the way up to this point here, where there's a big surge during April 23. It moved up to this level here around about $26, and then it did consolidate for a number of months during this time here before there was a major breakout in the start of January 2024. Price surged up from around about $30 all the way up to create the current all-time high of 122. Now, since that price peak, Supermicro has been sold off heavily. It's fallen from this peak here into this significant low here of around $17. And since that low was formed in November last year, SMCI has been starting to move up over the last 6 months. It's starting to create higher highs and higher lows and trending up. So it's looking bullish now, and it does look as if it wants to move higher, potentially up to this peak here of $66, and long term, medium term perhaps, push up to this level here and challenge 122. So $122 is the current all-time high for SMCI. So let's mark that up there. Now underneath that level, we've got this level here where SMCI did fall into after the price peak. It did fall into that level and find support around $66 before having a counter trend before falling away again. So 66 here and also 66 here could be a price level for resistance and support. So I'm going to mark that up. Now underneath that level, the next level of interest potentially is going to be this price peak here around $35. That's when SMCI had this surge back in 2023. It met resistance before it fell away and started to consolidate. So that might be another level to think about for the future. And underneath that level, we've got this price support level created at around $22. You can see after it surged up and then pulled back, it did find support here in September 2023 and also in October 2023. So I'll mark that one up as well. And you can see already I've marked up that level of $17 here, which corresponds to this price trough created in November 2024, so around 6 months ago. And since that price trough, we can see that Supermicro has been moving up steadily. It moved up here to create this peak of around $48. It pulled back to create this higher base. It really surged in these 3 weeks here to create the $66 peak before it was sold off. But once again, it did create a higher base, showing that the buyers were still coming in. Now, since this point, it traded up and created this previous sort of price peak of $48. It looks as if since this time, it has pulled back to around about this level of around about $38, but it hasn't fallen underneath that key level. So it does look as if $38 is offering some level of short-term support. And of course, last week, price for SMCI did trade above this key price level of $47 for a few days before price closed underneath the line. So we can see at the moment, Supermicro is struggling to get above this key level here of $48. And that for me is a key price level. I want to see price break above that to confirm a possible entry for this stock, and then look at a target of $66 for perhaps a take profit target. Now, what's interesting on this stock is that it is long-term bullish. We've had this pullback, and it does look as if now the stock is trending up, and we've got that confirmed trend line on the chart, confirming it is making higher highs and higher lows. Now, what's also interesting is that if we look at this price peak here, and also this price peak here of $66, we can see that the price is compressing over the last 6 months. And by connecting those price peaks, starting here in March 24, and also including July 24, and more recently Feb 25, we can see we do have this bullish flag pattern emerging. And as I'm sure you're aware, when you have these types of patterns emerging, when the price is being compressed towards the end of the flag, price is going to break out either way. Sometimes it can break out to the upside, or it can break to the downside. So based on this flag pattern, we've got an element of resistance here at this sort of key level. It does correspond with that level of $48. So what might happen is, based on the price action, we've got SMCI trading up. We've got it making a higher base. We've got it making a higher peak. It's fallen back to find support here at around $27 in line with the trend line. It's now moved up. It's had a smaller pullback. Sellers were only able to push it down to around $39. And now last week, it's tried to break out above this level, but it's failed. It's closed just under. So it's not quite certain yet whether SMCI has got the strength to push higher and the buyers are going to come in and take this up. Now, if we do get a breakout of this flag pattern, what we should see in the next few weeks is lots of buyers coming in, showing conviction that they want to take the price higher. And we're going to get a big green bar potentially that's going to break out above this pattern. So once we have a green bar that closes high above this key level and potentially above this upper trend line, that'll give you the confidence that the buyers are in control and they want to take the price higher. And based on the price action over the last 6 months, particularly over the last 3 months, it does look bullish. It does look as if SMCI wants to move higher and potentially move towards this first price target of $66, corresponding to this previous peak here. And after that, you could think about the 122 level as a target. Potentially, you could reduce that to around $90, and that would correspond to this choppy price action back here, where SMCI did trade down, had a counter trend back up before being sold off. So this area here, it might offer some level of resistance when price starts to move up. Of course, that's the bullish scenario, which I'd love to see unfold. I'm sure you would as well. But also, we've got to think about risk management. We've got to think about the downside. What happens if SMCI gets rejected exactly where it is? And $48 is just, this level is too strong, and sellers come in and start to sell off this stock. So what we might find is price action does something like this. It's moved up, it's pulled back, it's moved up again, it's pulled back, it's moved up to challenge this level, it's been rejected, it's been sold off slightly, and now perhaps this week it might find resistance there, and it gets sold off back down to the trend line around $35. And if that trend line doesn't hold and there's not support there, then potentially we might have a little mini rally. It might try again to break 48. It might come halfway. If it does come up here and get rejected, then it might break this line here, and then the next obvious level of support would be this level here of $22. So this is possible for SMCI if it gets rejected at this level. Now, based on the price action, I think the bullish scenario is more likely, but we just don't know. You've got to protect your downside with a stop loss and think about how you're going to allocate your money in terms of your position size. So based on my analysis, where do I think could be a good entry for SMCI stock over the next few weeks? I do think a good entry would be at this price level of around $48, corresponding to this line here. So what I want to see is for price to close for the week, a strong close above the week, above this key level. So potentially this week or the next week, or maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time, I want to see a big green bullish bar break above this level here and perhaps close around about maybe $50 to $55. That would give me the conviction that the buyers are in control and they want to keep on pushing towards 66. So in theory, if price does break above these key lines here and perhaps closes at around $55 for a particular week in the next few weeks, you could take an entry the following week on confirmation. And if you were to enter around $55, the first obvious target for profit taking would be the $66 level, which corresponds to the price peak back here. And you could set your initial stop loss at this key level here of $48. So that would give you an initial risk to reward ratio of 1.52, and profit on offer is 20%, so a decent setup. And of course, if price keeps going and it breaks this key level of 66, and let's say you set a target of around $90 corresponding to the price action back here, that would give you around a 65% profit on offer, risk to reward of 4.79. And if it keeps going, the buyers remain in control and it trades up to the all-time high of 122. You're looking at around about 120% profit, risk to reward of 8.84. So there is a good trade set up on offer here if you're patient and you wait for confirmation. So overall, SMCI stock is looking good, looking bullish. It does look as if it wants to move higher. We've got a confirmed trend line going up. We've got that bullish flag pattern. And it does look as if price can break out and perhaps we can get an entry around 55 on confirmation, it's setting up nicely for a high profit trade. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you in this trade already? Are you still looking at SMCI for the future? I'm keen to learn from you. Thanks for watching.